We'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon and Chag Sameach to everybody. I'm Naomi Fox. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Education here. I'm welcoming you to our second Beit Midrash of this season. I wanted to take a moment to thank a couple different grants that support adult Jewish education here in Omaha that we just learned that we did receive, which include Beit Midrash and adult Jewish education, so I'm going to read them off. The Shirley and Leonard Goldstein Supporting Foundation and the Milton S. and Corrine N. Livingston Foundation Fund are both supporting Beit Midrash this year and other Jewish adult education, as well as the Dr. Bernard H. Bloom and Dr. Bruce S. Bloom Memorial Endowment Fund will be sponsoring next month and February's luncheon as well. So we're very grateful for that support. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Hazzan Krausman from Beth El Synagogue. We're so lucky he's here today to bring a little bit of Jewish joy into our Hanukkah season. So enjoy.
Thank you very much, Naomi. It's such a pleasure to be here. Hanukkah is such a joyous holiday. And there's lots of fun Hanukkah music out there, and so I try to call the internet to find you some weird and normal and all kinds of Hanukkah stuff in between. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start off with a kind of an intro that's really cool called What is Hanukkah? And then we'll kind of go over that a little bit, and then we'll...
So let's just put it out there. Hanukkah is not the Jewish Christmas. Yeah, they're both holidays that...
Cool. All right, so that's kind of a good intro to what Hanukkah is all about here. Notice at the end he gave us the official greeting for Hanukkah, which is Chag Urim Sameach, which means a happy festival of lights. But so some people say you can't say Chag Sameach on Hanukkah because a Chag is one of the biblical festivals. And so Hanukkah is not one of those festivals, although they say Chag Purim Sameach, but on Purim everybody's drunk, so they don't have time for Talmudic discussions. I thought, just because for many of us the idea of Hanukkah is the little thing of oil that lasted for 8 days, and while that is important, I thought I'd start with a little historical timeline, just to give you some reference. So this is going to be the only thing that may not be musical, but if you want, I can sing it. In 332 BCE. No, it's just not going to work. Forget it. All right, so we're going to start off with Alexander the Great. And in 332 before the Common Era, Alexander the Great conquered everything, almost the entire planet, and part of which was the land of Israel, right? He defeated the Persian Empire, and he brought Greek culture to everywhere. So after he passed away, even though it says death, I still said passed away there. But anyway, why it matters is because Greek civilization and Jewish life, they don't work together. There's a tension there, right? So what happened is, after he passed away, after he died, 2 of his generals divided his empire, right? So Judea, which is the lower part of Israel, the southern part of Israel, became under the Ptolemaic rule. And so Ptolemy the First and his successors, they ruled part of it. And then by 200, the Seleucids, which are the Syrian Greeks, took over. And of course, we have the great ancestor of our villain of Hanukkah, Antiochus. I mean, that's a really good name for a villain. If you want to write a story, I just Antiochus, right? Anyway, and so in 175 before the Common Era, Antiochus became the king. And he had the audacity to call himself Antiochus Epiphanes, right? Which means that he himself had like a one-to-one relationship with God. And so what happened is, beginning in 167, with Antiochus IV, religious persecution began. And pretty soon in Israel, Torah study, circumcision, Shabbat observance, all these things were banned. Pagan altars were set up all over the place. And in most horribly, the Holy Temple in Jerusalem was completely desecrated. And on top of that, they set up an altar to Zeus in the temple. And so by 167 before the Common Era, a small group of a priestly family, the family of Mattathias, who were called the Hasmoneans, decided they were fed up and they couldn't take it anymore. And so they began the revolt. Right, so between 166 and 164, the Maccabees revolted. Of course, they're led by Judah, the Maccabee, the great hero of the story, right? Maccabee, of course, means hammer. So it was hammer time way back in 163 before the Common Era. And before you know it, Judah and his followers rededicate the temple in 164. And they decided to have an 8-day festival to commemorate the rededication of the temple. Now, coincidentally, the festival of Sukkot, which we celebrate in the fall, is also 8 days. And so many say that one of the reasons was that they had this 8-day festival was during when Sukkot actually occurred, the temple was desecrated and they couldn't celebrate Sukkot, and so they did like a celebration of Sukkot during that 8-day celebration, and that's why many of our customs that we have during Hanukkah actually mirror Sukkot. So we do Hallel, a collection of prayers of psalms that we add on festive occasions. We do that on Sukkot. So we added that into Hanukkah, and we even add the Torah reading into the Hanukkah. Of course, you can look through the entire Torah and not find the word Hanukkah, because the story of Hanukkah comes from the apocryphal books of the Maccabees. And so, if you look at the Torah for Hanukkah, it talks about the dedication of the original Mishkan, the portable temple that floated around. By the way, if you're a Torah reader, it's really cool because it's basically the same every day. You just talk about which priest dedicated which thing, with all the, spoiler alert, they all dedicated the same thing. But if you're reading Torah, do not volunteer to read the last day of Hanukkah, because there were 12 tribes and only 8 days of Hanukkah, so whoever the poor schmo is who has to read the last day of Hanukkah has to read all the rest of the reading, just say it. So if I ask you to read the last day of Hanukkah, tell me, no. All right. Anyway, so we go back to the rabbinic period, which is the 2nd to the 5th centuries of the Common Era, and we have this rabbinical tradition of the story of the oil, and that is that everybody knows the story, right? They found only one little jar of oil. It was only supposed to last for 1 day, but miraculously it lasted for 8 days, right? So that is kind of in a nutshell. But I guess the big takeaway is that Hanukkah is not really about gifts or candles. As the video put it so beautifully, it's about identity, religious freedom, and cultural survival. And so that's really the most important part of Hanukkah, but a little cholesterol goes a long way. So that's also cool. All right, so that was the serious part. Now let's get back to some music. So we're gonna start with me showing you everything on my computer. Oh, here we go. I got some really cool stuff. There's some haftorahs. I don't even want to tell you. All right. So this is a lovely piece called Haneirot Halalu. And it's the thing you sing right after you light your Hanukkah candles. These are 3 people that are part of this wonderful group of musicians out of New York called the Hadar Rising Song Institute. And they have tons and tons of videos, and they're so talented. They're really, really amazing. So I would recommend any of those videos. So I have a whole bunch of music here, and I don't think I'm gonna get through all of it. So I'm gonna send this beautiful, ugly Word doc to Naomi after we're done. And I bet if you asked her nicely, she would share a copy with you. Is that okay? Right, it's all YouTube videos, so you don't have to worry about copyright or any of those kind of things. All right, so we gotta do a little cantorial here. So this is Mizmor Shir Hanukkah Habayit LeDavid. It is a psalm that we do every day. It is a psalm for a dedication of the temple, which is kind of perfect for Hanukkah, and many people associate this psalm with Hanukkah. As people want to get to the Kiddush as soon as possible. So yeah. And that's all. You can all see what happens when you put a whole bunch of cantors on a stage all at the one time. It's kind of like herding cats. I really feel badly for the conductor, to be honest. But yeah. So cool. We're gonna stick with our program and see how crazy things get. This is kind of cool. We heard from 613 a little bit as you were coming in, but this is kind of cool because this is what happens when 613 visits the White House. I think. Yeah, this is a while ago, not this current White House, but a White House long ago. Maybe not. What happened? Oh yes, here we go.